Hi, I'm Laura.
Hey, I'm Stefan, and you're listening to Attributed, a podcast library by Dreamdata.
The purpose of it is to store and share all the knowledge that we have gathered across Dreamdata employees through our LinkedIn Lives, podcasts, and webinars.
The typical topics you'll find here can be stuff like marketing,
Sales,
B2B ads,
operations.
social selling maybe.
This time, like never would anybody would have expected, we're talking about Facebook on LinkedIn Live. So many B2Bs are focusing their paid ads on the various topics of mostly known platforms that we're usually choosing: Google, LinkedIn. But what's going on with organic? And there are so many of your buyers that are on Facebook. That's why I'm crazy excited to have Mari Smith joining us today. Mari is a specialist, a keynote speaker, best-selling author, and a Facebook trainer. Mari, I am so thrilled to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation and talking about my favorite subject, which has been the same for the last 17 years. I have been madly passionate about Facebook, although they drive me crazy sometimes, to be honest. And I'm sure many people can relate. They are definitely always keeping us on our toes.
Wow, there must have been a lot of changes that have happened during all that time with Facebook, huh?
No kidding. Yep, a lot of changes.
Amazing. All right, let's talk a little bit about the landscape of Facebook marketing in general. So, how has it evolved since the time that you have started to work with Facebook?
Oh gosh, yeah, it evolves every single year. So way back in the day, I don't want to go too far back, but if we just briefly look for a few seconds, many marketers, business owners, brands will relate to what I'm about to say. And that was back in the day that we were in heaven. We loved the days when we could make a post on our business page, our public brand page, and get 100, 200, 300% organic reach. Wowie zowie. Those were the days. And then, of course, it was 2012 that Facebook, now Meta, went public. And of course, they have this fiduciary duty to make boatloads of money for the investors. And the whole ads model, which Sheryl Sandberg brought in from Google, is very clever, to be fair. It's a great model to be able to tap into the inordinate amount of data points that this behemoth called Meta, now the Meta family of apps, it's Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and WhatsApp. So they have by far the most personal data on anybody, on the most number of people. And so that means that for advertisers, your ad dollars can potentially perform infinitely better than ads anywhere else. Although, of course, YouTube is a good option too. I usually recommend both ad. And of course, and I know in our conversation here today, Laura, we're going to talk a little bit about AI. So I would say that's probably one of the most dramatic evolutions, changes since, just the last few years, where Facebook Meta has brought in the use of AI in behind the scenes in the ads engines and being able to, identify your audience for the precise placement of your ads way better than we could, better than the human brain can, because it's got these millions of data points and billions of data points, right? So yeah, I would say probably that's one of the biggest, most dramatic changes, is shifting from this all organic to, oh my gosh, okay, organic just doesn't, you can't just do organic, although there are definitely some outliers out there. If you're doing really well, you're doing lots of reels, live streams, you have an active Facebook group, you're really engaged community, phenomenal content. Yeah, you can still do really well with organic. But when you bring in the ads, that's when you're really going to be able to drive solid leads and sales.
So exciting. And what are those unique opportunities that Facebook offers B2B marketers comparing with other social platforms?
Well, it's interesting because as you well know, Laura, that LinkedIn has long been like the grand poobah of B2Bs, right? As soon as you talk about, oh, we're in the B2B space, okay, just go to LinkedIn and go all in on LinkedIn. Don't even bother with anything else. However, here's the thing, that executives, key decision makers from major corporations, brands, organizations around the world They have personal Facebook accounts. They might be on there checking in with their children or grandchildren or whatever the case is, peeking in on some high school friends. They're not going to be as active. They're not on there scrolling through Facebook and Instagram for 2 or 3 hours a day, but they might pop in a few times a week. And so that is something to not overlook
Yeah.
for B2B advertisers. Here's the thing though, that you really want to make sure that you have a compelling offer
Yeah.
that, I've always said from the beginning, like 2007 onwards, like I say, that social media, all social platforms is really an awareness. It's a presence, it's awareness, it's an amplifier, it's turning up the volume on whatever your messaging is. And you absolutely want to tap into lead generation.
Yeah.
So capturing those names and emails. And one of the ad units that Meta offers, which is so powerful, particularly for B2B, is lead ads. And
Mhm.
so you can have tap to go to Messenger or Instagram Direct or WhatsApp. It's not in all countries just yet, but you can have people to WhatsApp message you. You can have people call you. You can have, and without leaving, is all without leaving the app, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, or WhatsApp, is that just tap and there you're beginning a DM conversation. Or you can have them fill out a form. And so the beauty of that is the information's pre-populated. You got name, you got email, whatever else you want to collect. One little caveat, and I know B2B is renowned for this, is like, oh my gosh, look at all these fields. We can capture all this data. Let's ask them 15 questions to really get some qualified leads. But, there's trade-offs with that. You might get a lot more qualified leads, but you'll get less volume. So I would recommend for most B2B marketers, businesses, is go easy on the initial form fields for those lead ads and try just name and email is perfect. Maybe one qualifying question, and then pull them into your lead nurture sequence, your marketing automation funnels, and you can pre-qualify and further qualify after that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And how does that? So nowadays, B2B marketers, they talk a lot about demand creation, demand capture. And how does Facebook help you out with demand creation then? If we were to capture some of the leads, so how did we create those pieces so we can take them down the funnel and they actually want to fill out that form for you?
Yeah, Laura, just make sure I understood your question. You're asking how to create the
Kind of
demand?
more, yeah, like the thought leadership part. How do you
Mm.
work with that on Facebook as well? So if the ads for capturing the leads are working really well, they
Mm.
must have gotten aware of your brand somehow that they're ready to fill out the form because B2B customers' journeys are so long. So what kind of
Yeah.
options are there for thought leadership on Facebook and all the Meta platforms?
Yeah, I like what you're saying. It's a good way to think of it in terms of sequencing. There are, I mean, like, you can definitely reach a cold audience. It doesn't have to be warmed up. The offer has to be just so compelling. A white paper, PDF, a free webinar, ebook, something's quick and easy to
Mm,
consume that people can't find readily by just punching into ChatGPT or Meta.ai, and so that they're, able to
right.
go, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I need right now. Let me go ahead and I'll part with my name and email, or I'll get on a call, or this is a solution I'm really needing. But back up to what you just asked me in terms of like, how do we create that initial awareness and demand that when the B2B audience sees the ad, they're like, oh, yeah, I've just consumed this podcast or this blog post or this live stream. Really, there's so many different aspects and approaches to content marketing, and it isn't about fire hosing. I'm such an evangelist for this message for many years now, that
Mm.
people think, oh my God, AI, now I can create 300 pieces of content in 3 minutes. Press a button, boom, here we go. Now we're going to just fire hose everybody with a lot of synthetic content.
Yeah.
And one of my main messages I've been integrating into my talks and keynotes, presentations, trainings is the kind of tongue in cheek, but authenticity is making a comeback. And the way, what I mean by authenticity is making a comeback is that it never really went away, but in the early days of social media, 2004, 5, 6, 7 onwards, maybe not 4 or 5, because that's when Facebook first started for colleges, but I'd say 7, 6, 7 onwards. That was a word that was bandied about so much. It's like, oh my God, you got to be authentic, authentic, authentic. And then it kind of got so overused, it got diluted. But now we're sitting in this arena. Ooh, I could feel like whole body tingles when I even just tune into this. It's frustrating, it's scary, it's challenging. There is a significant erosion of trust happening across the internet, across all social platforms. And that is with the creation of synthetic content, deep fakes, videos, audios, images, then I've seen my own self starting to scroll and go, wait a minute, I'm just about hovering over, like I'm about to like or love or like whatever, wow, something. And I get this sinking feeling in my gut. And I'm like, that's not even real. I mean, I know I'm going to finish up and answer your question properly in a second here. Just quick sidebar on the fake images, for example, or AI generated. They're not fake; they're real images generated by AI. When we had the solar eclipse a couple months ago,
Right.
I've
Yeah.
never seen in my feed. I've never seen so many fake images. There was one that just got like I saw this one. It was like the eclipse over Niagara Falls in Canada, and it had 7,000 shares. And it wasn't even composed properly. It was so like if you knew that area, you'd know. Okay, wait a minute. The city skyline isn't sitting over Niagara Falls, whatever. But I digress. So authenticity is making a comeback. So to your point about the thought leadership, how can you put really stellar content out there that
No.
touches people's hearts, that reaches out and just begins to tap on a pain point and to present your offering, product or service as an ideal solution. So for a lot of people, that might be through a podcast. And
Mhm.
let's say you interview guests, maybe you do 30-minute, 40, maybe a full hour episodes, you bring on guests, or you're providing tons of value. Now with that podcast, you have so many opportunities to repurpose that video. Most really great podcasters record on video as well. So they'll maybe do the whole thing might go on YouTube, but then they're going to use an app like Descript or Opus Clip. They're going to take little shorts, transcribe it. So easy now with AI. The workflows have been shortened and made so much easier. Now you've got all these little soldiers going out there to work for you as little thought leadership pieces and just teasing people and keeping that top of mind and top
Love
of
it.
feed awareness like stories. I think stories is one of the most overlooked formats for all kinds of businesses, quite frankly. And the stories are only seen by your actual followers, whereas feed content is getting recommended all over the place to people that don't know you. So, long winded answer. Love the question.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And they learn about you through that authentic content, especially because they can see you speak, express your thoughts, and they're cut into the pieces that are so easily consumable. We want to consume really fast nowadays.
It's so
And
true.
that's like to go through that and then later with a good call to action, well, you can capture those as well.
Right.
Let's switch a bit, Mari, and talk
Mm.
about AI. Can you share some insights into how Meta AI innovation is shaping the changes on Facebook?
Yeah, it's so funny to watch Mark Zuckerberg because he's fiercely competitive. He,
Uh-huh.
for all his life, I think, has been obsessed with Roman emperors. He named his 3 daughters after Roman emperors. And so in the early days of building Facebook, I understand that he would be obsessed with shouting the word dominate and domination. And so at the same time, Facebook has not necessarily been known for its really creative, groundbreaking innovations.
Hmm.
They're more known for being copycats. Although I think that they've invented the newsfeed concept. I think it's even been patented. But what's really changed is obviously when ChatGPT blasted onto the scenes, what was it, fall of 2022, right? That shook up the entire world, the entire marketing industry, and everybody has just been racing. It's a massive, massive arms race. You've got, like Elon Musk, you've got the Google folks, Apple, a little bit slow, but now they're whatever integrating in with OpenAI. And Meta was a little bit slow. And
Uh-huh.
but at the same time, one of the podcasts I love to follow on AI is Paul Raitzer, the Marketing AI Institute, and Mike Kaput. And they talked a few episodes ago about how Mark Zuckerberg actually tried to buy DeepMind. And I want to say it was like 2013 or something.
Wow.
And so if you track back, if you look at the history of Meta and Zuckerberg and AI, and where they've really tried hard to be pioneers. Jan LeCun, who heads up AI at Meta, is a real good, deep thinker, and they're doing a great job. But in terms of like the innovations, as you're saying, I think Meta.ai, that's a fairly recent release, and it was previously just the chat. You could go to your Messenger or your Instagram chat and punch in a prompt. But now it's coming on in leaps and bounds. I mean, Meta AI, I've done side-by-side comparisons of ChatGPT 4.0 with Meta AI in two different browsers, and I put the same prompt for images, the same prompt for spitting out whatever kind of written content I want, and they're pretty comparable. And the Meta AI is super lightning fast. I love their feature that they have where you can just start with Imagine, and it will begin to create an image. The second every keystroke, it's iterating and presenting you with what you might be imagining in your mind, which is really clever. I know Paul Reitzer was really impressed with that when it first came out. But let's talk more about the AI that's happening inside of the ads manager,
Yeah.
which I think has infinitely more use case. Right now, to be honest, Laura, I think Meta AI, the free integrated into like the search bar, I know is annoying a lot of people. It's like, get away with all these prompts. Just get me back my regular search bar. I find my own self like having those thoughts. As to how many people are going to Meta.ai and creating images or using it like ChatGPT, I don't know. I mean, maybe because it's free, whereas you're paying
Yeah.
whatever 20, 25 a month for your ChatGPT. But we started talking about this just a little bit earlier, Laura, about the audience targeting. You're familiar with what's called Advantage Plus. So you've got
No.
Advantage Plus shopping ads, you've got Advantage Plus audience. Now, when you go in a Meta Ads Manager in today, and you're in the past, we just backtrack for a second. In the past, I love the word granular. Real like, Meta offers the most granular ad targeting parameters on the planet. And you'd be thinking, okay, I have to really drill down my avatar. You still have to know who your ideal customer avatar is.
Yeah.
But you'd be thinking, precise age range and down to the zip code. And of course, if you're a local business, it's going to be geo targeted. But you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I need to do this interest and that interest. I need to target this business's followers or fans, whatever, page likes, and so on and so forth. But now you'll notice that Meta is recommending, it's a little bit more difficult to say, oh, wait a minute, where did all the ad targeting parameters go? Because they're like right up front, recommended. Don't be touching the parameters because we've got this. Let us do the legwork for you. They know everything. Like I mentioned earlier, all these data points, they're watching, they're tracking, whatever. So if you're willing, it takes a little bit of a risk. But I was recently talking to a couple of clients about this. One was a local jewelers in the States somewhere. And so they're targeting, and they don't sell online. And so I thought, okay, good. Let's put a geographic area for sure, a certain mile radius, but that's all. That's the only parameters. Let's see what Meta does. And another one was, it was a nonprofit that provides care for our pets, dogs and cats. And similarly, they're like, we only want this certain area. And where they were like really limiting their ads, I'm like, just try it. So I'm having my clients go like, wow, can we really trust that Meta's going to find our audience? I don't know. What do you think?
Have you been able to compare the cost per acquisition for those just yet? It sounds really exciting, but I would be very cautious as well to begin with. It's like, just set it free.
No, you know what's cool is literally in the last few days, maybe a week at the most, that Meta came out with this ROAS study they did, ROAS, return on ad spend. And they have found that for the average return on ad spend is $3.71. So spend $1, get back, almost 4x, which I think is pretty darn good.
For B2Bs or in general for their ads?
Good question. I don't have the study right
Oh,
in front of me. I would say it's in general. I'd have to
exciting.
double check
Very
if
exciting.
B2B. Yeah, exactly.
So if we were thinking more B2B specific, can you think of any strategies that B2Bs could right now use the Meta AI to amplify their marketing?
To amplify. Well, one of the things that just came out, and it was at the Cannes Lions Festival. Yeah, there it says every dollar an advertiser spends with Meta is $3.71, 12% increase in ROAS from 2022. It's a really good point. If they're not actually telling me here
I
if
would
it
guess it's a
specifically says,
blend of both.
yeah, drives performance for business. So one of the things that's, and in fact, I think they just announced this at the Cannes Lions Festivals as well, is about the AI assistants that are available in chat. So Messenger, Instagram Direct, WhatsApp. And this part does excite me because imagine we could literally train our own kind of like chat GPT, our own chat assistant with every feasible permutation of objection, sales question, data point on your products or services. And you're like leading people down a path with interacting with this self-serve chatbot. And of course, at any given moment, they can go tap, talk to a person, which I always think is critical. And that back to that authenticity piece. But I think this ability to train and utilize these chat assistants with the AI component, where they're AI powered in the chat features of people's choice. And they've always been Meta's been looking to create what they call that interoperability, which is where if someone prefers to interact on Instagram, but someone else's messenger, well, now they're basically the one on the same engine. And at some point, I believe they're going to like interoperable with WhatsApp. So think about with B2B, if you're able, now this might be a little bit more applicable to B2C. We'll see. E-commerce in particular, right? You're right there with your credit card, ready to make a purchase. And it's going to help you, guide you to right through a whole process of pre-sales, during sales, post-sales follow-up, and be incredibly automated. So I think that has an incredible application.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the content differences for organic content, maybe, because we
Yeah.
talked a little bit about paid. And
Yeah.
for organic content, since Meta has a couple of platforms that you can target your customers on, for B2Bs, where do you see what type of content works best if we split on the platforms for Facebook, for Instagram, and I'm not even sure. Can you do anything on WhatsApp? We're in Europe, so we're like a closed box. I have no idea.
Yeah. No, WhatsApp is still generally a messaging app. It's not
Yeah.
like there's a feed, and they haven't turned it into like a social network, thank goodness. But it is the largest messaging app outside the US, although I understand it's really growing in popularity inside the US nowadays, which I'm sure they're happy about. But so organic content, I'm sorry, my mind. You asked me about what's working across the Meta
Yeah.
platforms with
Especially
organic for
organic
B2B.
content for B2Bs and
Yeah.
for the Meta platforms.
I wish I could just say, okay, unequivocally, this format works for B2B and it's very different from B2C or just in general. I know that the Meta platforms on Facebook and Instagram are absolutely pushing the short form video reels format, no matter what your target. If you're a general consumer, you're a creator, you're just posting for fun, or you're a serious major brand with, a large following. This, as you mentioned earlier, about like we have such short attention spans in today's world, and I think that, social media has contributed to that attention deficit that we have, like all over the place. And so tapping into that as making these series of, I mentioned with the stories and with the short form reels on Facebook. One of my favorite formats is a text-based post that is on what they call like the background color. And it beats me why they don't keep adding more. And of course, with the AI, and how come we can't create our own beautiful backgrounds? But for the longest time, you're pretty limited into what choice is, either like a solid purple or a solid black or like some fancy weird shape. But those perform really well. So for example, a couple of weeks ago, I worked with a couple of different Meta agencies, one on the Facebook side, one on the Instagram side, and they're often going to knock on my door and go, "Hey, Mara, we've got some breaking news. We've got this, we've got that," and I'm signing, a non-disclosure, whatever, embargoed content, and then they'll release the content. And just recently, there was a big announcement about a very lengthy interview that Adam Mosseri had done. On a podcast. I forget the two gentlemen's names, but it was a podcast. Two guys interviewed him in person on video, like we were saying. The whole video is on YouTube, and it was like a good hour and a half. And I'm like, my audience isn't really going to watch that. Plus, it's on YouTube. But let's see. Meta's agency asked me to get the word out. Fine. I go to my page. I post against my better judgment. I'm a great experimenter. I like to test. And I post this YouTube video. It absolutely tanked. It got rubbish reach. So the very next day, I'm like, okay, well, let's circle back and we'll do one of my question posts with the colored background. And that just like blew up. And sometimes I'll play a little bit devil's advocate because I'll like ask a question like, have you noticed that your reach has gone down? And you're like, or I'll ask a question the other day was about using third-party platforms to schedule your content and how people are finding that. So it's really important to mix up the formats, right? I know we're talking B2B today, and experiment. One thing I have noticed with many of my B2B clients is there's this kind of contradiction in thinking where you're thinking, oh my gosh, my reach has gone down. People are not really seeing my Facebook feed content. I know, let's post more. They turn the volume up. They may be doing an average of once a day. Let's try 3 times a day. And they find their reach actually goes down. They get less. So better to try skipping a day. If you're not getting much reach with once a day, mix up the formats, switch it around with a video, with an image, dramatically reduce your link posts. If you do post links, because obviously we all want to drive that call to action, try putting the link in the first comment, make a video post, a regular video or a reel, put the call to action and the link in the first comment, mix it up with these questions, and just, don't be shy to put your calls to actions in there. Another whole approach, one more thing here, Laura, is a lot of businesses are going, you know what? We're just going to use our organic presence to just maintain that top of mind awareness, build relationships, credibility, and we're going to drive business, leads and sales through paid campaigns. And I think that's a pretty smart way to go, because otherwise, if you're like sitting there just waiting and hoping that you can get some better results from your organic, it might not happen.
I actually have noticed that myself as well, especially in the Instagram feed, because for the B2B brands that I'm following, you can see that it's very organic, very simple and light. So you know the brand. And then suddenly you see their ad. And it's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing as well, because like, oh, we're doing organic, we're that company. And then you see the ad and you don't feel bad of seeing the ad. It's just like a different type of content. And now there's a call to action. So it's like, okay, now I'm ready. Instead of just for them sitting down and waiting to like consume enough content to go into their website, fill out the form and so on. So I love that. I love the approach. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say for sure, like really tap into those stories, especially on Instagram. I have seen many influencers, bit of a different audience and content creator, but a lot of leaders in the social media industry are choosing to post very little on their feed. They might post a couple times a week on their feed, and almost always going to be a reel, but they're always got an active story plus live. There's not that many brands in B2B that are utilizing live. I think back in the day when Facebook first brought live out in 2015, and there was live before that. I think remember Google Hangouts and things like that. And then there was third-party apps, and of course they had all those different short live streaming, through Twitter and whatnot. But I think what's happened with live streaming, it's wonderful we're doing this live here today, and we're using Restream and we're broadcasting across so many different platforms right now. I hooked it up to my YouTube, my Facebook, and my LinkedIn.
Yeah, your fans are cheering you here in the comments as well, you can see.
I love it. Hello, greetings, Joe and Gail and Cheryl and Carl.
Yeah,
great to see you all here. But live, I think, it became a bit of a burden for a lot of brands. They're like, okay, what we're going to say, okay, who's going to be on camera? And it's like, it's a commitment. But gosh, I've seen a lot of folks do really well if you choose to live stream your podcast, and then you get the raw unedited version. And then you're going to have your team do the editing part of it, and you put out a nice, well-produced podcast, but you've already streamed and taking up, some great bandwidth to reach the audience live.
Exactly. Oh, I love that a lot. So if we're about to look a little bit into the future of metaverse, where do you see the future is going? And if we only looked into the B2Bs, how can they prepare for that as well?
Well, here we go. AR, VR, big time. The whole goggles. Zuckerberg is very committed to having, he called it the form factor, right? The form factor, I think it was early this year, and I posted about that, where he's wearing his Meta Ray-Bans, and they come out in the cat eye. The cat eye is a relatively new release, and they've got the sunglass version. And it does, I was so tempted. I was speaking at Social Media Marketing World in San Diego back in February, the annual conference. I'm so blessed to speak there every year. And I truly, truly got like this close to buying a pair of Meta Ray-Bans. I'm like, I think I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do my whole talk, and I'm going to wear them, and I'm going to stream it. And I'm like, no, I just get this sinking feeling.
They should gift it to you.
They should, but I'm still like, one time, remember the Portal? The Portal is defunct now, but I got a Portal, and I was so reticent to, I'm such an investigator, and I like to like really get to the bottom line and learn about like the security, the safety, the privacy,
Right.
what are they tracking? What creeps me out about the future is this eye tracking, eye movement tracking, and even emotion tracking. And so this is where AI, and I'm sure Zuckerberg, Meta, they'll be going all in on stuff like this, where you can have a conversation that is leading you down a path where the AI is recognizing your pupils dilating or emotions on the face. It's that you're objecting. It can see, if you're clenching your jaw, or all these different things. So it's like trying to pull out of you all your possible buying objections to the point where it's answered everything. Now you're like, okay, great. You're like going down this path. Fine, take my money. I'm signing up.
And I decided it, not you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but the form factor with the glasses, Zuckerberg's very committed to having that be so much more mainstream. The challenge, of course, with the whole like Facebook's, Meta family of apps is that trust has been one of their most prevalent challenges for, 20 years. They're not the most trusted platform. And then in fact, now with AI, I was just posting about this the other day about there's kind of these memes are doing the rounds about how to opt out of having your data, anything you've ever shared across all these platforms, used to train AI. Now, a lot of people don't necessarily fully understand what does that even mean. And so they're all like up in arms. Oh my God, I don't want my data used to train AI. And they're like floating around these memes of here's how to opt out. And I'm just like, whoa, people, hold on a minute. The horse is already bolted. There's no point trying to shut the stable doors now. Maybe if you're in the EU, I don't know. You said you're in Denmark, right, Laura?
Yes. Yeah.
So you might have the option to opt out. I understand even then it's a bit dubious. And even if you've opted out, do we really trust them, and so on and so forth? But back to the future part that you were just talking about. For businesses, I do believe that with the headsets, the virtual reality aspect, augmented reality, the whole metaverse, it's such early days yet for mass adoption. Yeah. But I want to say, and I'm just remembering, this was a few years ago now, but it was something like the Hilton brand of hotels was utilizing the Meta Quest. It's called now, it's not Oculus anymore, but the Meta Quest headsets and the little hand doodads, whatever they're called, to train their staff. So a front desk person greeting a customer coming in to check into their room, to train the housekeepers, like here's how do we fold the corners of the sheets. And they're deploying all this training remotely with the use of these headsets. Wow. And I'm like, that is clever. That gives me the goosebumps, because I'm like, this kind of use case, I think it's brilliant. One other quick sidebar. Remember that Zuckerberg with his wife has that whole Chan Zuckerberg Foundation, and then he's really committed to putting so much money into curing, or at least finding a cure for all diseases in their lifetime. So who knows? I have a feeling that he's probably going to venture into the field of AI and in healthcare, or AI advancements in, the whole like biohacking field, and just ways to improve and predict and to prevent possible disease or illness. I mean, that's totally separate from his meta pursuits, but that's something I believe is close to his heart.
That is so much to grasp. It's fantastic and so exciting that we only have those 24 hours of the day, and some of that we're also sleeping to try all that innovation at the same time. This is very exciting. And Mari, I want to thank you very much for the podcast today. It was really, really exciting and so different to what we usually hear for the B2B listeners. So thank you very much for joining us today. And I hope you get the glasses very soon, at least, so we can hear more from you of how that can be adapted.
Well, I must say, you see my eyes straying to the right here. I am looking out on this most glorious view. I have this house. I just moved here a year ago. I was in San Diego for 25 years before that. But I have a gorgeous lake view, and I'm like, oh, if I have my glasses on, I could just be like streaming. Hey, look what I see.
Exactly. Imagine that. Oh my God. A lot of stuff. Thank you so much for
My
being on
pleasure.
the show today, Mari.
Thanks,
And
Laura. Thanks for
everybody,
having
thank
me.
you for listening as well.
We hope you like listening to us. Subscribe to our podcast and the ones that we have been guests on.
And if you have any feedback for us, just do let us know. And should there be a guest that you think we should be talking to, then pitch us.
We're looking forward to seeing you.